Hello and welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Guys, I'm doing something a little differently today. So my engineer is out this morning, so I'm just recording from my studio, my home studio, because I wanted to make sure that I got this in. I know everyone's talking about it. Obviously, it is the talk of the day. Joe Biden's big boy press conference, if you will, was really a campaign speech. And I got to tell you, I find myself, and this is dark, I'm not going to lie to you, all right? I find myself rooting for Joe Biden, not because he's a good guy. I can't stand the guy. I think he's evil incarnate. I have no sympathy for his current condition. I believe his family is guilty of elder abuse, but I believe they're guilty of elder abuse because I believe that Joe Biden was abusive to them. And so they're essentially returning the favor. Hunter Biden is the kid that Joe Biden raised. That's what you guys have to keep in mind. The same is true with Joe Biden's daughter. So when I see Joe Biden, I'm like, man, this is elder abuse, and everybody's playing a part. George Clooney and the donor class of the Democrat Party, the political machine of the Democrat Party, none of them give a flip about Joe Biden, and he doesn't give a flip about them. What you have to understand about last night was that wasn't a press conference. That was a campaign speech. That was a straight up middle finger. That was a straight up middle finger to the Democrat Party, and it's an absolute disaster for the Democrat Party. Listen, I don't like to get into, I've been wrong on predicting elections. I don't want to get into that per se, but I am a commentator, so I got to tell you, the longer this guy stays in, the worse it's going to be for the Democrat Party because he's simply a disaster. But here's what Democrats don't realize. This is what Democrats don't understand. They're trying their best to kick Joe Biden out of the party, to force him to step aside. They have to understand this. Joe Biden has been in the Democrat Party for over 50 years. Joe Biden is a thug. Joe Biden is a mob boss. He operates like that. So last night, again, a big middle finger to the Democrat Party, to the party bosses. This is a guy who's defiant. This is a guy that says, I'm going to stay in and I will take the whole doggone ship down with me. Now, I don't know that he has the mentality to be able to think that clearly. I think a little Hunter Biden is in Joe Biden. But I just wanted to make sure that I sounded off on this press conference. And again, make no mistake about it. Everyone that saw that press conference last night, there was a Democrat strategist, realizes what it was. That was a campaign speech. That was totally staged. It was totally controlled. Even the questions, you notice how quiet the room was. You guys remember when Trump was in office and it was a real press conference, and you know he would go inside of a press room, or perhaps when he was walking to Marine One, all these the White House press corps would stop him. Mr. President, that's a real press conference. What we saw last night was not a real press conference. Joe Biden and his administration still controlled it. Even the questions about Kamala Harris that he screwed up big time, were controlled. He knew they were coming. They chose to pick specific. I have it down in my notes. Reuters, AFP, CBS, Associated Press, NPR. They picked all friendly liberal journalists to ask Joe Biden questions. Even some of the left-wing journalists that you've seen at the White House lately, all of a sudden figure out that Joe Biden has dementia, and they've been duped for 3 years, which we all know is a complete and utter lie. They weren't even allowed to ask questions. So that wasn't a press conference. That was a campaign speech. And when the Democrat strategists saw that campaign speech / big boy press conference, their thoughts were, oh crap, this fool is going to take us down with the shit. The Democrats have a very short period of time to get Joe Biden, to kick Joe Biden, kick him to the curb. It's going to take a lot. But again, I want to reiterate. I want to go back to what I said earlier. Joe Biden is a thug. See, the Democrat machine, you guys know this. The Democrats run a machine. They are thugs. They are mob bosses. They don't care about rules. I've heard conservatives opine on, all these state election laws and all this kind of stuff. Look at what just happened in Ohio, where a bunch of Republicans just rolled over to make sure that Joe Biden gets on the ballot in a timely fashion. There's a deadline of July 21st, right? This is that virtual roll call that they're doing early for Joe Biden. The DNC has to get Joe Biden a step aside before then. They can still remove him. They'll find a way to do it if they want. It makes things a lot harder for the Democrat Party to get rid of him at that point in time. All right. And so the last thing they wanted to see Joe Biden do last night, as a matter of fact, the pressure was mounting before. I got to take a swig here. The pressure was mounting before the press conference, right? I mean, George Clooney out with that letter. You had senators coming out. One senator came out in public saying, hey, listen, Joe Biden has got to go. 12 Democrat congressmen have came out. So the pressure was mounting for Joe Biden to quit or step aside even before that press conference. And then I was in for Salem News Channel last night covering it live. We thought he was going to come out at 5:30. Then we learned he was going to come out at 6:30. Then we learned it was going to be 7. And then we learned it was going to be 7:15. So I started to think, and I said even on air, man, maybe they are applying so much pressure that he isn't going to come out and try to prove himself after that disastrous debate performance in June. And also after that disastrous interview or that hit job with George Stephanopoulos, because you know that's what that was. That was George Stephanopoulos setting the tone for the rest of the media and the Democrat Party. We've got to apply pressure to get this guy out. Otherwise, we're not only going to lose the White House, but there's a potential that we will lose the House big. And the Republicans, who, quite frankly, Democrats are more vulnerable in the Senate this year. Republicans will likely win the Senate. Now, I'm not here to say that's going to happen. You guys got to make sure that you show up. Fran, you're right. Jerry, thank you. Don, good to see you. You guys, everybody's got to make sure that they show up and they bring a friend to vote. If you can vote early, do so. If you can get involved, if you can donate, do something more than what you've done before, because I don't want to take this election cycle for granted. But I'm telling you, after that, again, I'm not calling it a press conference. That was a campaign speech. I'm telling you, Democrats are even more panicked than they were yesterday. So either one of a couple of things are going to happen. Either they're going to curtail the public cries to get rid of Joe Biden, and they're gonna fall in line. Or if you think you've seen a pressure campaign so far, we ain't seen nothing yet. I mean, that thing was such a disaster yesterday. Even earlier, he called Volodymyr Zelensky Putin. He called VP Harris VP Trump. All right. So everybody knows that it was a disaster. But the Democrats' problem, and I keep going back to this is the Joe Biden that they created. This was the Joe Biden. He should have never been vice president. This guy was guilty of plagiarism, got caught a couple of times, had to end his race for the White House before. But still, the Democrat Party decided to elevate him in part with Barack Obama, right? To give Barack Obama initially some foreign policy chops and credibility, which was absolutely stupid because Joe Biden is a disaster when it comes to foreign policy. And we're seeing that play out now with the Russia-Ukraine war, with Israel and Hamas. We're seeing that play out. The guy has always been a disaster on foreign policy. I don't even know why Barack Obama picked him, but I guarantee you this, they are regretting that now. He even dissed, some of you guys may have missed this, but Joe Biden even dissed Barack Obama yesterday. He talked about, what did he say? He said something, I want to complete the job, basically. I want to finish the job. What is finish the job? It's the fundamental transformation of America. He thinks he's better than Barack Obama at doing this. That guy thinks he's a god. And I guarantee you, when he goes back to the White House, he has Hunter Biden and he has Jill Biden propping him up. You can do this. Oh, you're the man. You're blah, blah, blah. Whatever they're saying. And the Democrats don't realize the Democrats are a machine, and they're a thug machine. They are like crime bosses. Republicans don't operate in the same way. Yeah, we can get nasty. Campaigns can get very nasty. There's throat cutting, all that kind of stuff on the inside. No doubt about it. But I'm telling you, Democrats are a different breed. They are straight up gangsters. All right. They just happen to be in politics. The problem is they elevated Joe Biden, and he was one of the biggest gangsters of them all. So now he's playing the role. Those are the elites. The party bosses are against me. I'm an outsider, and the Democrats are getting exactly what they deserve. And I got to tell you, I thought Joe Biden would be out of this thing, but I'm happy that he's still in. All right, because I do believe that he's easier to beat. I don't necessarily buy the polls. I know Kamala Harris is a disaster, but frankly, if advertising and money shifts to a Kamala Harris or any other candidate, we really don't know how the electorate will react. The fact that you're going to have 46%, I read 46%, no matter what Joe Biden shows, his dementia or whatever, no matter how bad the economy gets, no matter what, 46% of people are going to vote for Joe Biden anyway. That's just the way that it's going to be, and we have to wrap our heads around that. I mean, it's a hard thing for us to comprehend. I just want to make sure that I got everything. But again, just to reiterate, that was a campaign speech. That wasn't a press conference, and this has got to drive the left crazy. This doesn't change anything. This not for the Biden campaign. The Biden campaign is still in shambles. This thing is cratering. But you're not going to convince the naysayers that Biden shouldn't go, right? You're not going to convince the people that say that Biden should stay, or the holdouts that say Biden should stay, that he shouldn't stay. That press conference changed nothing. And that's what Democrats are fearful of, because again, that was better than the Stephanopoulos interview. That was better than the debate performance, obviously, with Donald Trump. And that was absolute defiance on Joe Biden's part. And the question I ask is, where else would the Bidens go? No one's going to hire Joe Biden. He has dementia. No one's going to hire Joe Biden for speeches after he's done with the White House. Nobody likes Jill Biden, all right? Nobody's going to hire Hunter Biden. So these people, if they do move aside, the party bosses in the Democrat Party are going to have to become bigger thugs than Joe Biden is. And again, they elevated a thug. I cannot stress that enough. They elevated a thug to the White House, a swamp creature that's been in Washington, D.C. and has seen absolutely everything. A guy who allegedly took showers with his young daughter, a guy who allegedly raped Tara Reid, a guy that has allegedly been involved in all types of foreign money laundering schemes. They messed with the wrong Democrat. They put the wrong Democrat in office. This is one of the biggest thugs Joe Biden is in the Democrat Party. And he's not going to be out-thugged by the other thugs, and certainly not by some Hollywood elitists like what's his name? Like George Clooney. All right. That letter, that letter was probably one of the dumbest things the Democrat Party could have done. I know that George Clooney, the word is that George Clooney showed that letter to, or went over that letter with Barack Obama, and Barack Obama was passive, didn't say yay or nay, he wasn't involved, but you know, he could have stopped it. This is gonna prove to be a fatal mistake for the Democrat Party. They should have never done that. I think Greta Van Susteren was right. If you were going to go to Joe Biden, George Clooney, he's a big donor. He should have went to Joe Biden in public. George Clooney is a fake and he's a fraud. You can't tell me that before that man raised $30 million, he didn't know Joe Biden's state. All you have to do is turn on your freaking your television. Everyone knew. Everyone knew. And guys, I'm not saying this to be mean. We're all going to get there later in life, right? But it is elder abuse, right? We're all going to get there. But the problem is Democrats don't care about Joe Biden. Joe Biden doesn't care about him, care about them. Joe Biden cares about power, or at least he did, and his family cares about power. You have Hunter Biden that doesn't want to go to jail. You have Jill Biden that loves living the lifestyle. And you got to imagine the embarrassment and shame of the Democrat Party telling you that they're not behind you, that they don't want to see you go forward. They can tell you, oh, you've done a great job all you want, but ultimately, you know, if they're telling you to step aside, you know it's because you're a loser. All right, it's as simple as that. And we've all experienced that type of pain. We've all experienced that type of pain in our lives. But some quick takeaways too. And by the way, I have to share this because I think what I'm going to do, Justin, Tommy, Brian, Sue, thank you for joining me. Just real quick, because I think I'm going to use this for a podcast. I just needed to get on and express this. I'm not recording until later this evening, but I told my engineer I couldn't wait. I wanted to talk about this. So what I'm going to do, he's going to take some of this audio and use it for a podcast later. So if you guys will just hang tight with me, I want to make sure that I do have to read just a couple of ads, and I want to remind you of MyPillow.com. Mike Lindell with MyPillow.com no longer has the support of the box stores or the shopping channels, but he has a $25 extravaganza for those of you that might be interested. Actually, if you use my name, go to MyPillow.com, use the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. I don't spell it like the communists. Honestly, even some of the deals that are $25, I've gone on to get some slippers and stuff like that. I'm going to go back on and get some towels. They're even cheaper than that. So promo code Carl when you go to MyPillow.com, or give them a call, 800-858-0263. They have the MyPillow sandals, a 6-pack towel set, a 4-pack dish towels, and they even have the premium MyPillows with the all-new Giza fabric that's just $25. So, all right, so I'm doing this rant for this long. I figured I'd go ahead and intertwine that, all right? So 800-858-0263 is the number, promo code Carl, or MyPillow.com. All right, Radio Podcast Square, promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. All right, so just a few other tidbits that I want to make sure that I go through. You guys noticed this, I'm sure. I have to give Joe Biden credit. His defiance is impressive. I don't like the man. I want to see the man lose and the Democrat Party to lose in humiliation. As a matter of fact, I've gotten to the point where I'm literally pulling for the guy. Not because I see this camera is a little... forgive me, guys. I'm just doing this Ghetto Fabulous style just because I don't have my regular cameras up and stuff. All right, but I find myself pulling for the man, not because I like him, not because I want to see Joe Biden succeed, but because I want to see the Democrat Party fail. Because they've lied to us about Joe Biden. Not to us. We all knew it. But they lied to the rest of the American people. They tried to gaslight us and tell us that we weren't seeing what we were seeing. No telling what else they lied about. Everything that Joe Biden and the Democrat Party has done for the last 3.5 years, some of you may have thought, Joe Biden was right on this, but no, you have to question everything now. Look at how far they will go. That presser last night, that campaign speech was a total setup. We were told that Joe Biden, before I went into the Salem News Channel, that he was going to give a press conference. That was not a press conference. That was a campaign speech. And I'm telling you, Democrats are freaking out even more today than yesterday because of that. Because that defiance is impressive. You're not taking me out. He even looked better than he did before. Even though he made some flubs, he made some mistakes, he still sounded like that. You know what I'm saying? But he looked better. You guys got to admit, he didn't look like a ghost yesterday, that's for sure. But he was defiant. He made it clear that he isn't going anywhere. But since he isn't going anywhere, that means that all eyes are going to continue to be on Joe Biden. I wish this were a policy race. I'm a policy guy. I can't stand personality politics because ultimately I think all you do is you wind up in a stalemate. And even after you get a president as good as Donald Trump, if it becomes mostly personality, all the left will do is bash the personality, not pay attention to policy, and eventually you wipe the policy away. And honestly, that's what we've seen, frankly. So I like people understanding policy. It's not happening that way this election cycle. It's going to be about Biden. It's going to be about Trump. But I do believe that we have to talk about policy too, because I think this thing is going to get straight gangster. All right. Straight up gangster. And what I mean by that, it's going to get even nastier. The Democrats, again, have a very short period of time if they're going to stick with Joe Biden to either stick with him or throw him under the bus. And they've seen last night that this fool has thrown down the gauntlet. And I can't be happier for the Democrats. I hope they lose the White House, the Senate, and the House in a landslide election. I'm not predicting that. And I won't predict that. I don't care what the polls say, even though they are a snapshot in time. So it's definitely true that things aren't going well for the Biden administration. But I still look at it. We have 4 months left. But if Joe Biden remains the nominee, right? Everybody's going to look at, you can never forget it. June 27th, that debate performance helped people realize, oh, this guy has dementia. George Clooney's letter, I'm telling you, that's going to be a disaster. That was a very dumb move. Mark my words, very dumb move. Very dumb move by George Clooney, because now Joe Biden, Jill Biden, Hunter Biden has said, screw you guys. We're digging in more. We're bigger thugs than you. We're the biggest mob bosses in the Democrat Party, and you can't get rid of us. That's who the Bidens are. And Democrats didn't realize the monster that they created. They helped create. All right. So, again, the list of people that they called on, that was a week. That wasn't a press conference. That was weak. They called on Reuters, AFP, NPR, CBS, AP, and nothing. They knew what was coming. And again, there were no reporters there. Hey, blah, blah, blah. See, if the reporters would have been like, hey, Joe, then he would have got confused. And they know that. So that shows you something. That shows you that the Biden administration is powerful enough where they still have the mainstream media in their back pocket. Don't believe otherwise. Do not believe otherwise. That campaign speech, Guy says a press conference, showed us exactly that yesterday. The mainstream media is still in the back pocket. Even with a dementia patient, they'd rather win with a dementia patient than lose to Donald Trump. That's where the country is. It's insane, but that's where we are. Joe Biden lied about the 16 economic Nobel laureates. I'm going to have an economist on. I was going to have him on tonight. We'll probably record tomorrow over the weekend and put a podcast out. Jim Nails, he's with the Daily Wire. Also, I believe the Washington Examiner, if I'm not mistaken, that he writes for as well. This nonsense about trickle-down economics. Nobody's ever mentioned trickle-down economics. Reagan didn't say it. That's a lie that they continue to make up. 16 economic Nobel laureates that have gotten behind Joe Biden that said the economy is going swell. What the hell are you going? Are you crazy? That's no different than the 51 former intelligence agents who said, hey, listen, Russia collusion when it comes to the Hunter Biden laptop. So they lied about that too, right? He talked about union jobs and how the union basically built America and all this kind of stuff. Guys, if it weren't for the industrial, listen, and I'm not against unions, whatever. Actually, I don't like unions. I'll be straight up. But if it weren't for the industrial revolution, if it wasn't for manufacturing, you wouldn't have even been able to have unions. But I get it. Some places want to unionize. I think that's a dying breed. I actually think that hurts labor. I don't think it helps labor. I think when you have more skilled people out there that are doing a good job, I think you go compete. You hope that other businesses open up. You go to other businesses that are willing to treat you right and pay you more. And guess what? That forces companies to compete. You guys might remember after the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that Trump literally, corporations started offering benefits and bonuses for people to come on board because their taxes were cut so low. They had extra money to spend, and they decided to reinvest. Many major corporations and small businesses too decided to reinvest in their businesses. Kamala Harris, again, this thing turning it over to Kamala Harris. I thought Biden, dementia patient and all, this reporter asked him about being the bridge candidate, and he has no intentions of turning it over to Kamala Harris. They say they have internal polling that suggests that she would lose even worse than him. Listen, I don't know. I've seen polls that say that she's up a little on him. I've seen polls that say she's still lagging a little bit. They have internal polling that we don't have, that they're privy to. Maybe there's something there. Maybe there isn't. I don't know. But you talk about a diss, right? You talk about a diss. He dissed Kamala Harris. I don't care. He also dissed Barack Obama. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but he dissed Barack Obama when he said he wanted I think I did mention that. When he said he wanted, what was it again? I want to complete the job or finish the job that he started out. He mentioned LBJ. He mentioned FDR. He skipped right over Obama because he thinks he can do a better job. That fool thought he was God last night. A couple other things he mentioned, China and Russia. He didn't mention the Americans that we still have being held hostage in Gaza. And it's crazy to me that he said, I won't work with Putin. I won't work with Putin. I won't work with Putin. Yet he sat there he and NATO, while Putin was sitting on the border of Ukraine, basically waiting for Russia, to attack Ukraine, they said nothing. They did absolutely nothing. Then he says he's not willing to negotiate or talk to Putin, but he's willing to talk to Hamas. I mean, the guy is a freaking moron. Even if he doesn't have dementia, he's a moron. But this whole idea, he's a horrible foreign policy leader. The idea of having Kamala Harris, he doesn't like the idea. Joe Biden doesn't like the idea. Hunter Biden doesn't like the idea. They don't like each other. Another thing I see that he skated last night is, he's tested every day with this when it comes to his mind and all this kind of stuff. He's never promised to see an independent neurologist, because you and I know that Kevin O'Connor, the White House physician, is full of crap. I'm not saying he's not good, but I'm saying he's a gaslighter too, because he's a political hack. Did you guys know that he was in business with Joe Biden's brother? I mean, come on. And then Kevin Kennard. Kevin Kennard is the specialist, the Parkinson's specialist that we now know visited the White House about 8 times within the span of a year that nobody told us about. But so these guys, and he was a major donor to the Democrat Party and to Biden's campaign. So they have a stake in it, and it may just be their value system. They may just be big old left-time or left-wing loonies, and they just want to make sure that Biden stays in because they hate Trump. Nonetheless, I don't trust anything they say. But again, I just wanted to get on for a few minutes and talk to you guys about this, because Joe Biden has managed to survive another day, despite the calls to step aside. And I suspect that the calls are going to intensify, because once the Republican National Convention starts next week, a lot of attention is going to be paid to that, and then people are going to realize it's go time. A lot of people start looking at those conventions and they're like, "Oops, sorry." A lot of people that aren't paying attention, they're like, "Hey, it's go time. This is go time." So next week is go time for the Democrat Party. If they're going to get rid of Biden, they've got to make a concerted effort to get rid of him by next week. Everything they've done so far has not worked, because Joe Biden is a bigger thug than the rest of the Democratic apparatus, and that is absolutely saying something. They have met their match. Hey, real quick too, the economy is in shambles. I got to share this with you because I've been going so long. I just want to make sure that I'm going to use this as a podcast if you guys don't mind. Hey, Bill, appreciate you being out there. What's going on, man? Brian, appreciate you being out there. Amy, thank you so much for joining and watching. I'm gonna ask you guys to share this. Oh, also t-shirts out there. Love guns, hate tyranny. You can go to carljacksonmerch.itemorder.com. I don't do this full time, believe it or not. A lot of people are like, "You don't know." I don't. My goal is to be able to do this full time. That's my dream. So I'm selling t-shirts. I'm doing whatever it takes to make it there, because I want to fight for this country. I love this country, and I don't believe that. I don't believe that we should let this country fall. As a person that's a Christian, I think we have a duty to lift this country up. We're blessed to be Americans. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what's between your legs. We are blessed to be Americans. This is the greatest country that God has ever given man. If you don't think so, all you have to do is check the borders in every other country. There's a reason why illegal aliens are invading our country. It's because it's the greatest damn country that man has ever known on this earth. All right, so they don't have these immigration problems in Eastern civilization, right? They're typically in Western, particularly the United States of America. All right, so just real quick, priority gold. Economists warn that massive tax hikes could devastate your IRA and your 401k account as the stock market braces for impact. With inflation on the rise and global uncertainty looming, it's clear why central banks and savvy Americans like yourself are turning to gold. In times like this, Proverbs 21:20 reminds us to preserve what we built. Right now, that wisdom points us towards gold. So if you haven't had your eye on gold, time to make it a priority. You guys know me. I'm Carl Jackson, and I'm urging you to call my friends at Priority Gold to find out how they can help you diversify your savings with physical gold and silver. All you have to do is call 1-800-405-GOLD or visit prioritygold.com/golden for a free gold info guide. Plus, see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. You can act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Saw that, caught that. All right, the number 1-800-405-GOLD to speak with a gold specialist, or visit prioritygold.com/golden. Prioritygold.com/golden, and you can learn more, or give them a call, 1-800 405-GOLD. All right, guys. I mean, that pretty much wraps it up. If you guys have anything that you want to ask or comment, I'd be more than willing to answer questions or so for a couple of minutes. But I'm just here to let you know that press conference was not a press conference. That was a campaign speech. And that was Joe Biden throwing down the gauntlet, throwing up the double barrel middle fingers. I won't stick my middle fingers up, and telling the Democrat apparatus, I'm the boss. I'm staying in, shut up and get in line. That's exactly what happened last night. And that was absolutely disastrous for the Democrat Party, because now, too, they're going to have to expend resources in places they did not intend to. I don't think I have it in front of me. New Hampshire, Minnesota, you're seeing polling there. If the polling is accurate, that suggests, and I don't think it's going to be a massive election like we saw in 2020 with those numbers, but I do believe here's what's going to happen. I think the economy is going to continue to get worse. We're all feeling the pain, right? So the economy is going to continue to get worse. You're going to continue to see the wars. You're going to see that the media isn't going to cover Russia and Ukraine like they should, because the truth of the matter is, and I don't like saying this, but Ukraine is getting their butts kicked right now. That's just the truth. It doesn't matter where you stand in a war. That's the truth. That's the truth. All right. Joe Biden is an absolute disaster when it comes to foreign policy. He just is. None of this stuff is going to get better before the election. And people are going to have to make a determination. And now if they do have a second debate, the second debate is scheduled for September 10th. All eyes are going to be on that debate to see if Joe Biden falls or stands strong. So Democrats have to get rid of him, and they have to get rid of him quickly. If they don't, if he can survive through this week, next week especially with the RNC, or this weekend I should say, and then next week with the RNC, I think he might be in like Flynn. Their deadline date, and I know Democrats can do whatever they want, but their deadline date legally is July 21st. Once that roll call happens, once he's the official nominee, everything becomes that much harder. Those delegates are legally pledged to him at that point. Right now, he can voluntarily resign. They can kick him out, whatever, force him out, pressure him out, and he can hand those delegates off right now to virtually anybody. Anybody. They can have an open primary. Anybody could. But at that point, it's just him or Kamala Harris. And I guarantee you, he's not leaving for Kamala Harris. Joe Biden and his family don't like Kamala Harris. And she is a disaster, let's be honest. All right, guys, listen, I appreciate you guys tuning in to the Carl Jackson Show. Please subscribe to my podcast if you haven't already. That is the Carl Jackson Show, wherever you go to get your podcasts: Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. If you're on YouTube and Rumble and you want to check out the videos, subscribe there, share them. I would certainly appreciate that. And also all things social media. Obviously, I'm on Facebook, I'm on X, I'm on Instagram, True Social, and Getter. So anyway, I appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in. Larry, Michael, Etna, Tom, Danny, see you out there. Appreciate you guys. If you guys will share this, I would certainly appreciate it. Until next time, do not grow weary doing good, guys. God bless you. And let's kick some booty in November. Take care.